everyone. Um, Welcome back to the CU podcast, Two Cups of Coffee.
Wait, so what's the title? See
Yeah,
you
I
cups of
know.
coffee.
We finally have a title now, everybody.
Oh, two cups of
Congratulations.
coffee. Right.
Yay! Two cups of yeah, 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah,
But today there's 3 people, shocker. So just for today we're 3 cups
just
of coffee.
just this one
Yeah.
instance. Yeah. So we have a YouTube channel now, and this is where all the content's gonna be uploaded. Today I have Celeste, of course, president of the CU,
Hello.
and we also have an old friend, Manish. Say hi.
All right. All right. All right.
Manish is an alumni from LAU. He has actually been a part of our CU for ever since we've arrived, actually. So it's good to see you again.
Too long.
Good to see you again too.
Oh
I
god.
know. I know. I miss telling you them that also.
Oh, Manish, how have we missed your corny jokes?
Um. Yeah. So I'm Manish Petrus, and I graduated this year in the COVID year of 2020. And I was studying yeah, I was studying creative advertising, and yeah, it was a pretty fun course, to be honest. Like, it was totally unexpected of how much I'd enjoy it and how much I would get out of it. So yeah, it was pretty fun. Now just kind of enjoying the low life of being a lockdown graduate. To be honest, like, I kind of still feel like a uni student, just like because I've kept in contact with you guys and all of my uni friends. It just feels like that back end of the last term where we were working from home. I'm still kind of doing like similar work I did at uni, so it doesn't feel too different. What feels what feels a bit weird is just like doing it all from home, and like the reality that I'm not a student anymore hasn't hit me yet. But who knows? Who knows when that will hit me? Maybe never.
Indeed, different life from the rest of us, because uni has started. All the freshers are in. We have to get ready for classes. It's all starting back up again.
They've been interesting. Like some of our classmates are really angry at the tutors, and it's not even our tutors' fault because obviously Corona is out of their control. And like you could just tell like the tutors are so done with it, like they're just like, I know just as much as you, like I don't know any answers, and they just keep expecting answers from the teachers. And yeah, it's really sad because I feel so bad for them because obviously they have to put up with that now, and I'm like, oh god, really. But I mean, like, in the general gist of things, apart from it being online, it's pretty much the same. Like, I mean, well, we don't really go into school, into university anymore. Like, we don't really use studio space. Um, you can still go into the library. Like, I went into the library today, and it was fine. You do have to book in, but I mean, there was no one else there, so I had a great time.
That must be so weird, like having to do like art
Yeah, it's just like some parts of it are the same, and then some parts of it are really different. It's just like
not at uni.
it's basically online university. Yeah, like I don't know how else to describe it.
In a sense, I can imagine that's quite nice, but also like you're paying to be at uni, but you're doing it at home.
Yeah, that is the irony of it. Is like we're paying like quite a lot of money, and yet we're not even using the facilities that they're supposed to be like giving us to use. Um, yeah, but thankfully I'm in a position where I can work from home because I work with digital media. So I'm okay, but the people who do painting um, or sculpture, they're really struggling because I mean they're gonna have to work from home, so they have to buy all of their own materials. I mean they can buy their stuff from the university, which is cheaper, but even then they still have to. They don't have like a safe space where they could make a mess and not lose their deposit for their house on it.
I mean, if you do lose your deposit, then I would just go all out and just kind of paint the whole flat or wherever you live in. I'd just be like, it's all art.
Definitely very different from what uni was like years ago when I joined as a fresher as well.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean that's one way to look at it.
You speak like you've been there like 12 years. Years.
Yeah, like many years ago. We've only been here for two.
Back in my day, we had lessons.
It genuinely feels like it, honestly, because it's like, what, fresher and then second year and then third year. It really just shoots by so quickly, you know? It's hard to really process it. Like, it's hard to believe 2 years ago I was just walking into uni as like a freshman. Now I am as a third year. Stressing.
I remember you two first coming in and being like, "Oh, hello, is this the Christian Union Society? We saw you on Facebook." And then you two came together and signed your names. Yeah,
Those were interesting times.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy actually, yeah. Like university was online before I even came to university. Like thinking about it that way. Cause yeah, like I was looking for a CU, I was looking for other Christians I could talk to, and then King was the only other person that was on the same chat group as me for Leeds University, but more specifically, the Liberty Park chat for the halls.
Were you typing in the chat like any other Christians nearby?
Yeah, legit. We were like, are there any other Christians here? Like, I need some Christian friends. And everyone else was like, nah.
Well,
And
that's
then
pretty
King was like,
bold.
I am!
I mean, that's pretty bold. Like, you know, I wouldn't expect that many people to be like, "Yo, any Christians up in the house?"
Yeah, I didn't know because obviously I was new, so I thought, oh, how I don't think I get judged for being a Christian, right? So if I just raise my hand and say, hey, anyone want to come chill out? I just expected to be more people, unfortunately.
I think there was just a lot of closeted Christians who weren't on social media.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. What was uni like for you, Manish, when you came in as a wee fresher?
As a wee fresher, well, it was weird because I never really got the full uni experience because I didn't move out. I just kind of traveled in from home. But saying that, I don't feel like I missed out on much either. I knew Leeds. I just got to know it even better. Um, and like, I don't know, being back in education, I took a year out. Just kind of felt a bit, a bit natural because a lot of what I'm going through right now is what I went through when I was in my year out, where I didn't have a job or anything. So I was just kind of looking for ways to keep occupied. Definitely something I needed, that structure. So hopefully something like that comes by again.
It's a very interesting way to describe it. Creating a purpose to build up another purpose.
I mean, we paid to do that at like 9 grand
Oh,
a
I
year.
hope so. Yeah, if I'm going to be spending for mine as an international student 15 grand a year, I better be making the best out of it. That's always been my ethic.
Yeah, yours is like ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, sometimes it can get quite stressful when as an international student you look at all of this and you think it's harder, I guess, because you don't have that level of connection or you have less of a knowledge of what things are like.
Do you feel like you've kind of like settled in nicely now, or are you still finding bits where you're like, well, this is
Well, the
weird?
Christian Union's what's been keeping me sane, honestly. For me, it's always been who can I find, who can I talk to? And if it's to see you, then I am 100% comfortable with whatever stress I'm going that's happening in my life.
Sometimes, and sometimes no.
That reminded me that reminded me of that meme where this girl asks her niece or something, or like her little baby sister, and she's like, "Hey, do you ever pee your pants?" And she goes, "Yeah, sometimes."
Yeah, I love that video
It's such a
so
beautiful
much.
one.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I think more recently it's become a bit more stressful because I'm now like president, so like now there's stuff I have to do all the time. Um, but I mean, like in general, like I still love community that we have and that we've made together. Um, yeah, and like I love how open we can all be with each other. Like it's really special that we can all have this openness in this little like little friendship group we have. It's really sweet. Yeah, I really like CU. I'm very honored to be president.
That's a good thing, even though sometimes it drives you bonkers.
Well, it doesn't drive me bonkers. It just stresses me out because it's just work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like another full time role on top of your uni and kind of juggling friendships, I guess, and all the rest. In my first year, there were three people. One of them was always kind of busy because they were in like printed textiles, so it was quite, once in a blue moon where they would come. But we all had good relationships, and another guy who was the president. So both of them were third years, so they both left. So the CU was literally just me at that point, and well, towards the end as well, we we kind of had Dayong, who who messaged and said, "Hey, when's the CU on?" And like she emailed us, uh, but me being me, and I was in charge of the emails. I never checked them, so
Oh
I,
no.
I had no idea this other person was
uh,
looking for a CU. So for a time, it was just me. And then come second year, I don't know. It was just so crazy. Like the growth was like by 700, 800%. We just got like up to eight people um, when it came to second year. And I think we all of us just like gelled really quickly. All of us just kind of, you know, it was just we became instant friends. There wasn't, you know, I don't think it was too awkward even from the beginning. It was just like, oh hey, here we are. We're all in this weird uni. Let's be friends.
yeah, I like obviously I'm now admin of the Facebook page. I found the message that I sent
Oh really?
the Facebook page, and you replied like a week or two later or something. And you were like, "Yeah, I
Oh
can't
wow.
wait to meet you," and I was like, "Yeah, awesome." Oh, and then yeah, but like what you said, like when we met at the dry dock pub, it was like I was like, oh, I've not been in here before because obviously, I mean, I was new anyway, but it was just yeah, it was just, and then I met Kay, and we did that look. Who's like, you're a Christian. I saw you in fine art this morning, and we both gave each other that look of ultimate like, I can't believe you didn't tell me.
Wait, so you guys had met in fine art just on that
Yeah.
day, and then you
Well,
saw each other again at the at Dry Dock?
yeah, but we had met each other like briefly. I think like everyone had like said their name or something, um, or like answered to the register, and I had seen her and gone, oh, like recognizable face or whatever. Um, and yeah, yeah, I was just like, I think I saw
Hang
you
on
in
a minute.
person.
That's quite cool.
Yeah,
It was definitely a weird meetup, but also like I think it kind of described us as well. We just played a couple of games and just kind of chatted,
yeah,
and
It was very, I think it's laid back, and in my experience with other societies, like I've been with D&D, I've been with 8-bit. The CU has always been that one society where I can always rely on when it comes to just sitting back and not really having to stress about many things. I don't know if that's a weird term to really use.
no, I get it,
yeah, it's quite therapeutic in the sense that you can just sit and relax.
and it's like, cause I mean, sometimes we go through the Bible together. It's quite meditative as well. Like we can have that like peaceful state of mind, and then we can also have that chaotic friendship state of mind where we play games and beat each other up over video games.
I was like, wait, has the CU taken a whole different turn
That's a
since
very
I've been gone?
interesting way I describe it. I don't know about you.
yeah.
I mean, if we're beating each other up, I'm coming to your matches and joining.
Oh no, we're not actually beating each other up, so don't cancel,
So I
please.
think, yeah, the reason I say it's insane for me is because I think we have freshers as a first year and then second year. Forced uni work is very guilty. It's a guilty thing when I say it's been really stressful. I don't know. It's just that when you have that slump, the best way I can describe it, you go from really high, you go from yeah, I'm having time of my life in first year, and it's like when it grows to December, you crash and burn. Pick yourself up again by spring break, and you crash and burn again.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I can definitely relate. Like, are you finding it quite difficult because you're on filming, obviously? Not getting to film or anything and working, trying to do filming as a course from home. Like, what's that like?
We don't talk about it. I mean, it's kind of stressful. Well, in a sense that it always was stressful when it came to things like filming at home. But even, I don't know, for me, it was quite hard filming as a group or as an individual within my course. Cause the best way I can describe it is like people have different interests, and mine unfortunately was just, oh, I'm just gonna stay in my room, even without the pandemic, game or just have a nice chat with someone.
Yeah, lockdown didn't really change that much.
Yeah.
Like talking about like the house party aspect of university life, I'm not against it. And like last year, we had a couple before lockdown, obviously. And yeah, I enjoyed it. But I think the problem is that I mean I don't necessarily mix with people who like to house party. And generally, I'm quite a chill person. But if someone does throw a party, I'll probably be there.
Yeah, I think the same thing as well. I'm not. It's awkward for me because I've always been quite introverted. So when
Yeah.
they're like, "Come party," I'm like, do I go? Should I not?
Yeah, I mean, if it's with my friends that I know, then it's fine, and I could probably party all night without shame or anything. Um, yeah, like if someone invites me to one, I'll probably say yes. To be
We got
honest.
like a good party, as long as you know people there. Like, I don't think I've ever been to a party where it's just been strangers. If it was, I would be out there. I would be straight out of there. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, because you just instantly feel like not included because you don't know anyone. Yeah.
What's your what's your uni life been, Manish? Like when you were as a fresher and a second year?
As in like the life outside of uni while being at uni.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, it was, I think it was quite good because I, there were a few nights where I did have a stay over at some people's houses where we, went to a house party or something. But most of the time, it was kind of like making use of View Cinemas. That was my socializing, most of my socializing, because it was on Mondays, £3.99. Now they've changed it to £4.99 for any film, any day. Um, a lot of joy came out of that, just going to the movies while I was in Leeds at uni, and then a lot of joy came out of just enjoying some food out in the city. That that was most of my social life, but a lot of it was spent, in the hours of uni where not many people were in, especially in third year, just kind of staying back quite late at night, and just kind of messing about with friends in the actual classroom. But yeah, the social life was, I think for me, was just fulfilling enough to the point where I didn't feel like I was missing out on a lot by staying at home and not living out in Leeds, I guess.
That does sound really fun though. Messing around in classrooms and just enjoying the food life in Leeds.
Oh yeah, like you guys just introduced me on just one street to three different places who offer like completely different types of food, but they're all delicious. So there was the Noodle Esther, which I still talk about. Like I was with Polly the other day, and I was just like, we have to go to this place. They make noodles by themselves, and there's only a couple of options to choose from. And there's home.
um, Manish.
Oh no, don't tell me there's bad news.
Yeah, that's bad news.
So should we tell him? Should we tell him?
What?
They might not ever reopen.
Oh, you
But then
kidding
I
me?
heard that on the news, like restaurants might close soon. Anyway, so they might reopen in a distant future.
Yeah.
Wait, so they're not like shutting down, they just shut down because of COVID.
Yeah, I think so. But apparently their mother um shop, yeah, has shut down in Sheffield.
No.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
so because if it's shut in Leeds, I could have gone to a different one. But that's shut.
Oh,
Right, well, we've got to put our hands together and pray that it stays open.
Yeah, but like you said, it's you. the uni life, honestly, I feel like half my time in university has been not necessarily stressing out over courses, but also learning to find ways to de-stress myself outside of a course. You know, like food was definitely a great thing. Like it's what kept me like if even if my friends were like, "Hey, do you want to go out to get a good meal or just go somewhere, even like go to the park?" It's a good way for me, to get rid of like the stress of life.
Yeah, I think me and you are quite similar in that sense, and maybe this is because we grew on the Asian continent. But I think like for me and you, like the cultures that we come from, socializing happens over food, whereas here a lot of socializing happens in like pubs or bars, um, which there's no right or wrong with any of them. It's just there's that difference that we find just the idea of eating out more sociable than going to a bar or a pub. I don't know what your take is on that.
Well, like about food, my relationship with food, it goes way back. I've always loved food. I think like yeah, I always like going out to eat. I mean, it depends who I go with, but sometimes, like, depending on who I go with, it can either be like really enjoyable or really like nerve wracking, but like in a fun way.
What's the worst experience you've had like eating out with someone? Because it seems that the way you say that, it seems like you've gone through some stuff.
Well, it's not like it's a bad thing, but it's just like whenever me and my boyfriend go out for meals, he always finds ways to make me feel like anxious or like not in like a bad way, like it's in a funny way. Like he'll annoy me by doing something really weird in a restaurant, and it's just like, oh, it's an emotional roller coaster.
Is it just like just does something so embarrassing, all eyes are on you, and you're like, no, don't look at me.
Well, it's not like they're watching us or anything. It's just like, oh my god, what if they're watching us?
Oh, okay, just that feeling.
So like, yeah, anytime like it's worse if his brother comes as well. Like we went to Zap Thai,
Oh,
back at home,
beautiful place.
and yeah, the food was good, but like the experience was interesting because they just kept like doing embarrassing things, like saying words that were funny at that time, like meme words and stuff. And I was just like, oh, okay.
What? So they just randomly kept shouting, "Yeet!"
Yeah, literally. They would just be like the most embarrassing people to go out with, basically. They're loads of fun and I love them dearly, but you gotta really have a good stomach for it.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, King has seen the atrocities that occur when my boyfriend comes for dinner, so yeah. It's yeah, it's just it's fun. I enjoy it, but yeah, I sometimes I'm like we should just never leave the house.
Well, I'm still yet to meet your boyfriend, so maybe
Oh
over
my
over
god,
over some
really?
food, might seems like the
Oh
best place to
no.
meet.
Oh god. Yeah, it's probably the best way to meet him. Yeah, to be fair. I think that's when his real colors come out. Cuz I feel cuz he used to be a chef. Um he whenever he cooks, he turns into this really strange person. Like I mean, he's strange anyway, but he just like gets weirder, and he starts like I mean, it's very sweet. But he starts like singing weirdly in the kitchen, and he'll dance when he makes food. It's very like it sounds adorable, but when you watch it, it just looks like a Monty Python sketch or something. It's really quite bizarre.
Oh, that's quite sweet though. Do you join in, or do you just look at him like, what is going on?
I judge him quietly from afar.
How was their course, Manish? Like,
How
I
is your
think
course? It's finished.
I know. I always struggle, right? Because you think, I guess I'm still in the mindset. Because obviously, the last time I saw you was when the pandemic had just started. So your last time in uni was literally saying goodbye. You know, I don't know. It's like it feels like you haven't graduated, but yet I know you are. which is all, which just makes it really, really
I mean,
crazy
we
for
didn't
me.
even get to say bye, did we? Because the lockdown just suddenly hit, and then we were just like, all right, well, I guess we can just do this online. So we that's how we kept it going, and that's how we're still keeping it going. But in terms of course, like I think what made my course was the tutors themselves. I think I had probably the best tutors I could have asked for. It was just kind of like whenever you needed some kind of help or direction, you would just walk into their room and just lay it all on them, and they'll be like, "You're being silly. Do this," and you'll be like, "Yes, you're right," and it'd be sorted out. Or if it was just we just needed a chat, and we could just literally walk in, take a seat, make ourselves a cup of tea or some coffee, and just sit down and chill with them, which was really nice. Which was really nice. And I think if it wasn't for the tutors, I don't think if it wasn't for the tutors and the people that I was on the course with, I don't think the course would have been as enjoyable as it was. Like to me, um, it fit me really well because it was flexible, open, and not too difficult. So it was good. I'm not saying it wasn't difficult. At times it was, but overall, it the people made it seem easy.
I guess yeah, people make the tutors, I suppose, and people in the tutors define how the course was like. I think for my course, it's always been they were always really good people in my course, and I think with filmmaking, it's always been a case of you have to work with people. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, what I think happened with me was I towards second, I think first year I was really open on making friends with many people as possible, but when I reached second year, I don't know. I had this mindset of, oh, I want to pour a lot of my effort into seeing why I can work on my own and work outside of uni, and I regret it because I end up sort of sacrificing forming connections with my friends at the cost of the, doing so much more work. Sometimes I just like maybe it's not exactly worth it if you know.
yeah. I mean, like for filmmaking, it's so collaborative. You kind of have to be friends with all the different types of people. Like the storyboard people, the screenwriters, the directors, cinematographers, all of that. Um, it is very much who you know kind of field, right?
Yeah, it's a networking field.
But then your personal work is also a lot of the work that you have to do personally. But it's interesting because I remember when I I I was an extra in one of the films you were producing for uni, and the people that I worked with on that set, uh, like the people stood around. I forget their names now, but when I see them, I know who they are. But when I saw them at uni, like walking down the corridor, or like we would be entering uni at the same time, we just like because we'd had that experience of like making something together. Whenever I'd see them at uni, they'd just like nod their heads and like say hello to me, and I'd say hello back. And I don't know, it was nice that you. I don't know if I ever needed like someone to be my cameraman again, I could go to someone that you worked with and be like, oh hey, we worked on this thing together, let's do something else. You know?
Like it's hard to say. Like you can be collaborative, which I did do actually, and it was really fun and really interesting. Um, because I mean, when you're doing fine art, I think it works in a different way because you're talking about concepts and ideas and like how to represent those in a visual way and not like so like with filmmaking I guess it would be more like how do we represent the story through this color scheme and through this story, whereas for the way that me and my friend were doing this work together, it was very much um, we wanted it to be obscure, we wanted it to be not obvious. So I think it's very different. But yeah, when we were making stuff for that, it was I had so much fun doing that. Um, but unfortunately, they didn't want to continue it because they felt that they had changed. But honestly, I had changed my ideas as well, so it just was meant to be that we wouldn't collaborate again. But I don't have any like resentment towards that. Um, yeah, it was enjoyable, but like mostly, yeah, like I said, like you don't collaborate with people because it makes marking the work harder. um, yeah, the tutors were always like, "Oh, so who did that idea and who did that idea?" And me and my friend were like, "We both did this idea. Like, I wouldn't have gotten this idea by myself. Like, we both came up with it together." And they couldn't understand it really. So we had to like basically talk over Google Docs over everything so the teachers could see how we thought our ideas. So the poor teachers had to read all of our work. um,
Wow.
but yeah, it was that was a fun experience, but I don't think it's going to happen again anytime soon, unfortunately.
Do you think it kind of forces you to look inwards a lot? Kind of like, what do I think? What do I feel of this? Fine art, because you're saying like, that's what you're getting marked on. So has that kind of forced you to think about that even more, or kind of?
Yeah, I think it depends on your practice. Because you could definitely be looking at like the stories of other people um, and what their lives are like. But obviously, you still have your own subjective opinion on what that is, and how you show it and how you present it. So yeah, it's very individual with the way that it comes out. Um,
Yeah.
and like I work really well by myself anyway. Um, like I get loads done. um, yeah, it's just yeah, it's an annoying thing because I like working with other people most of the time. If they have the same work ethic as me, it's fine, and I can get along with it. I think most people in fine art they don't necessarily like collaborating unless they're working on the same idea. And a lot of the time, fine artists, I feel like they're maybe more introverted and they don't like talking to other people. Yeah, and I mean, as much as you have to do networking in fine art, it's not the same as, say, filmmaking or creative advertising because you don't have to collaborate. You are making work about yourself most of the time. Like I am, at least. Like, I'm making work about my own life, um, mainly for myself, my own personal growth. It's just like the only people I need to contact are like people I want to steal ideas from, um, and like people who would maybe buy my work.
I feel like that ends up rather competitive. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Well, I don't really feel like the art, like fine art, is that competitive. But then I feel quite relaxed about it. I feel like if your work is good, there's probably someone out there who likes it who will be willing to pay for it or willing to exhibit it. Like, I guess in terms of it being exhibited, it could get competitive, but it's not like I know my competitors.
I guess you just kind of have to make the best work you can, and hope it connects with someone out there.
That's a good thing on your behalf, because for I know, I think first thing we always start usually for film industry is that it is just how intense it is, right? And given because everyone watches movies and TV shows at one point or another, you can't really escape it. So we're all forced to, or we're all pushed. We have to do anything that are better or grandiose and make us stand out. Sometimes, like, I love it, but also sometimes it just stresses me out because half the time you also think, oh, okay, you're in that mindset where if you don't succeed, your stuff won't get shown and people might not want to work with you or advertise your work.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a stressful one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have this mentality of like I just want to make art because I enjoy it. And like when I am enjoying it and when I am like being really vulnerable with it, like in terms of like emotionally and what I put out there, then that's when I create my best work. It's not when I'm striving to do better than last time. Yes, that is like a bonus and I do think about it, but it's not like my main game. My main game is to get my concept out there and be vulnerable with my work so that the message is conveyed properly in the way that I want it to.
Do you think like the vulnerability aspect is where your art comes from? Do you think everything outside of that uh, place where you're not feeling vulnerable, where you're not feeling like, okay, this is scary, do you feel like you don't connect to that art, or do you feel like, that's not art for me? Like, what is that line for you?
I don't know because I think I've always made work that's quite vulnerable. Apart from like GCSE, I think after GCSE I started making work that was truly more about myself. Um, yeah, because I mean in GCSE I don't like what I made in GCSE, but I actually like I still well I don't actually I sold the painting I made at A level,
Oh, sweet.
and then yeah, my granddad has it. He's a cool guy. And then I still have my other final piece from A level. I still really like the concept and the work I did for it. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think like it's different in a way, like so different because one of my A level my fine art piece was a painting with textile embroidery on it, like. And if you look at my work now, it's digital video with photography. Like that's so different, and they look so different. Like in my painting, there was so much color and so much aggression, whereas but like the concept is the same. I like uh I was not having a great time mentally when I was 17, so I did like it explains so much like the style difference.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So like there's so much like anger and aggression in my stress painting. um yeah, like because all of my work was about stress, so I was like, well, I might as well make work about what I'm feeling. Because I had so many exams.
It is a stressful
I
time.
was just like, I'm just gonna make work that's real. I'm just gonna do
Hmm.
this. Just gonna emotionally vomit onto a canvas, and I got an A star, so it worked.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah, and then but then like compare that to my other thing. It was a blanket. Like it was a blanket about death. It was like, oh, okay. It's so different to the work I make
Mm.
now.
So you described your work as aggressive and, you know, vomit of stress on a paper. How would you describe, the feelings and emotions and, all these thoughts and concepts you put out on a piece of paper now, or, a piece of screen, as you say, it's
I feel
digital.
like, yeah, I feel like it's kind of the same. It's just the colors and the way I present it's very different. I use a lot more physical speech and like poetry and writings, like, and I pair that with imagery, photography, or videos that I've taken, and and then I isolate them, and yeah, it's different but the
Yeah,
same.
I've always found that quite interesting about your work. When you printed out your book, and it had some poetry in there, and it had the images, and um, I don't know. Do you let the concept inform the words and the picture, or is it the words that inform the picture? How do you come about that?
I think with the books that I made, it was definitely the words informed the pictures because I had taken the pictures way before I'd even started that project. I think I'm not making books anymore because I didn't think it worked properly. But my work is the same. It's just all I'm just focusing entirely on video now because I think the way my books could have been better in the way that they were like read. I don't know. It's people could read them, right? But people read so fast, and I really wanted people to slow down and think when they looked at my work. And these books were only a few pages long, and the poetry was quite short as well. But that was because I wanted like all of this negative space. But people would just read the words and turn the page. They'd look at the picture for like a second or two, and they'd turn the page. But with the video, I could control that more. Like, I can put in white noise, I can put in my speech, I can speak the poem, which would obviously be a lot slower than reading it. So, yeah, it's just the same thing, but it's just moved across.
Yeah, I think the same thing as well. Usually, when it came to my work, because I had such like a huge aspect of my past, so usually with faith, for me it always felt wrong to just be like I couldn't ignore that. And honestly, I feel like there are times where I may or may not have clashed with some of my courses because obviously some people don't really feel comfortable with it. At least that was how I always saw it.
Mm,
So when it came to things like wanting to, let's say, make something based on the Bible story, make something based on what I experienced that maybe was spiritual in some sense, I get a lot of weird looks around that because people are like, why are you writing these things?
I guess it must be difficult because we do live in a culture where, especially when it comes to ideas of faith, are taken less seriously. Um, so I guess it must be really hard in an academic sense, especially with something like filmmaking, where you know, it's quite trendy. It's sometimes trendy to tell cowboy stories. Now it's trendy to tell superhero stories. At one point, it was trendy to tell romantic stories. So I guess faith hasn't really found a way into those trends yet. So it's still a bit of a weird field, I guess, from a filmmaking standpoint. How do you feel like, how do you challenge that? Have you thought about any of that?
I mean, usually my mindset has always been this is how I like to do things, and sometimes in worse ways than when I'm usually either, oh hey, you're more than welcome to criticize my artwork and stuff and some stuff I make, which I'm sure I've always been of the opinion that there's always everyone's a critic whether or not you're aware of it or not.
Mm.
And someone may not like your work, someone may love it, but at the end of the day, I the last thing I want to really do is tell people how to feel. I would much rather try and take things out there and let people decide for themselves, and that maybe if I made something that was true to myself, right? People can use like that the idea of like a personal story and sort of look inward and look at themselves.
But I guess you're kind of getting stopped even before that can happen, right? Because I remember from last year you had a bit of trouble trying to tell a story that you really wanted to tell, but your tutors kind of were forcing you to push in a different direction. So so how do you overcome that challenge of seeing, because you want to tell your vision and your story, but from what you're saying, you're kind of getting there's a lot of hurdles in the way to do that. So how do you overcome them?
I think how I've usually handled it's either I don't think it's right to always just say, "Oh, I'm going to shut out all the criticism that's being thrown my way," because that's not really useful. You never know if maybe someone actually has a point when they say, "Hey, maybe you can try this," or "Hey, I don't know about this particular idea." At the end of the day, it's kind of my work, you know. Look inward and say, maybe do they have a point or do they not?
Mm-hmm.
It's a dangerous path. Eventually, if you just say, "Oh, I'm not gonna listen to what anyone else says," you can end up pretty arrogant, and you might end up shooting yourself in the foot in
Yeah.
more ways than one.
Yeah, it's a hard line, kind of, being creative, like, because you have your personal vision of how things could be, but also you have people who have been doing it for years, like our tutors, who have a pretty good sense of what works and what doesn't, but they're not always right either.
Yeah, that's the thing, I suppose. For me, it's always been hard to sometimes prize and like, oh, it's my work. I should be the one who gets to decide what eventually happens, and no one else can criticize it. I don't know. Is that something you guys experience?
I think with me, because mine's advertising. Um, Obviously, I have my personal work as well, but if we're talking about courses, with me advertising, we're kind of given a challenge to do. So a lot of the time, it's not my work; it's the client's work. We're doing the work for the client, so we have to have a responsibility to the client and to the people who will see this work that we're creating, that we do something that's going to be different and it's going to get results, but also something that people can connect to on a more human level also. Um, and and because it's such a collaborative process of making an advert, you know, usually there's two people who come up with the concept, the art director and the copywriter. There's a lot of back and forth that you have to do with each other and kind of challenge each other, question each other, support each other. Um, in that sense, there is a personal aspect to it, but it also gets lost within the amount of hands that are on the project also. Um, but it's also very case by case because, I might come up with an idea that's deeply personal to me, but once you put it out there as well, um, once people see it, you kind of have to give it to them and say, this is yours now, and you interpret it the way that you see it. And I think that's the beauty of in all of our medias that we're doing. You create work that you want to create, but then it's not your job as an artist, like you were saying. Uh, it's not your job as an artist to tell someone how they feel about it. I don't know. What about you, Celeste?
I don't know. Like, yeah, what, like trying to make what commissioned artwork. Like, I don't know. If with fine art, you don't really do that. I feel like if people, they just like they'll see your work at an exhibition, and then they will either just not buy it or buy it. I think yeah, that's the problem is that obviously you guys would be working to a brief, whereas I work the opposite way around, where I create the work and then people they will decide on whether they want
Mm.
to buy it or not.
Do you find freedom in that, or do you feel like because you do have
Yeah,
to?
I don't like being told what to do. No, I just never wanted to. I mean, if someone told me, "Hey, I want you to design this for me," I would be fine with that, but I love having my own art practice. So, yeah. Like, I would be okay with doing graphic design or something, but it wouldn't be my 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not where your passion and your heart would be.
Yeah.
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 I feel like if you don't have the personal drive to do something, why do it?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
have you had times where you question yourself and you think maybe I'm doing something wrong?
What that I shouldn't do art.
No, yeah. Oh no, I guess more
No.
like not that harsh, but like things like maybe what the work that I'm doing may be flawed.
Every
No.
day.
Okay.
Uh, well, I say no, but I mean, obviously there are times where I think, well, I don't know. Like, I love art, and like I pretty much like I breathe it, um, or at least I feel like I do. Um, I've never seen. I feel like when I was younger, I wanted different career paths, but I ended up on this one. But I love where I am with my life right now, and I don't regret any of the things that have brought me up to this point. Honestly, like I'm very happy with what I'm making at the moment. And if I told myself, like I always think about this, I was like, if I told like 14-year-old me, hey, look, you got into Leeds Art University, you're getting firsts, and you're doing really, really well, and the teachers love what you're doing, just keep it up. Like I'd be so happy. Like that was all I could ever care about. I was like, I just want to do well, and I am doing well, so I have no
Well,
complaints.
that's good.
That's a really good thing.
Yeah.
I guess for me, question of do I ever doubt myself whether this is the right thing for me or not? I think that question I can whatever my feeling is, you know, that will get decided for me because I do believe there are other things guiding my life, and um, you know, other things meaning God. um, so I think where he wants me, I will go. But in the sense of do I ever doubt my work? I think for me I would be in a very uncomfortable place if I didn't question and doubt my work each and every day, just because of the nature of things. Because obviously Celeste's work is very personal to her. It comes from her heart, and it needs to come out of a place of, okay, I feel good about this. Whereas my work has to come out of a place where it's like, okay, let's try this. Does it work? And it needs to answer a lot of questions. So the idea that if I didn't doubt the work that I'm creating, that to me would not be a good piece of work because I know I'm not questioning it enough. Because somewhere out there, because it is advertising, companies will pay a lot of work for it to be seen by a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to have questions about that piece of work. So if I'm not questioning it, I'm not doing my job. So it has to be a constant thing.
But that's the whole like process of development anyway. Like I wouldn't have gotten to doing the stuff that I'm doing now without going, oh well look, I don't think this is working, so I'm going to try this, or this is working really well, let me modify it a little bit. And because of all of these processes of constantly changing it and trying new things and learning from other artists, makers and creators, you then end up with this to the point the way we are now. Which is why I was like, I don't really doubt it, but I mean, like, in the sense of what you do, I do that where like I think about where I am going with my work. I do think about that, but I heard it in a negative way, but I don't do it in a negative way. I do it in a constructive way.
What about you, King?
I don't know, when it comes to things like trying to understand what my work really is, I think it pays sometimes to see like how people might interpret it, you know. Because think of it as a movie. If you're watching something, everyone's bound to see it one thing or another, you know. Like, I feel like just like books and like artwork and eventually like photography as well, right? We tend to make things and we tend to all have different upbringings, and so when we look at a movie, let's say, we tend to have different thoughts about it, and so it gets weird, you know. Someone might say, "Oh yeah, that movie is great," but others, but you might turn around and say, "Oh, that movie was absolutely horrible." It's a very tricky business, especially in a world where I guess as a filmmaker, you want to please everyone, but you also don't want to care. You also want to express yourself in your own way. You know, one way is you become really, really like possessive about your work and don't take criticism very well. The other side, you end up just not necessarily be making it your own work and just trying to please the crowd. And I think honestly, pleasing the crowd is a very dangerous path to go on. I find it hard to be like, oh, everyone's gonna like my work, because in reality, that will never happen.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I mean, that happens with everything. I think. I'm pretty sure out there somewhere there'll be someone who won't like the artwork that I'm making.
Yeah, you can't please everyone.
No, but yeah, and you just gotta not let it bring you down. Like, if your film gets some bad reviews,
Yeah, literally, I'm like, okay, cool.
you
Yeah,
just gotta deal with it. Unfortunately, like, yeah, everyone's different, so everyone has their own opinions about what you're going to make.
I mean, it's like to use a really bad example, but I think it kind of fits. But it's like Michael Bay. He creates some of the worst films, Transformers,
Oh
but to
yeah.
a studio, they make billions of dollars, so they keep calling him back. Like, yeah, come make us more Transformers, and and the audience enjoys them as well. Like Michael Bay and like all the Transformers universe has a big, $1 billion isn't easy for a film to make. Um, so the critics might hate it, but people still go out and you know it's just people still go out and watch it. So you just gotta figure out who you're making the work for. And some really talented filmmakers out there kind of have both. Like Christopher Nolan, he brings the money as well as the reviews.
I think it becomes a bit of a problem when you are so intent on wanting to please other people.
Yeah, that
Mm.
should never be what you do. Like I think it happens so often on YouTube as well, all the time. People are like, "Oh no, I'm not hitting my YouTube goals or whatever. This video didn't get as many likes and stuff." But the problem is that it's never about the likes. I feel like as long as you're doing what you have a passion for and something that you like, there's going to be other people who also have that passion, who also like that thing. And they will get along with it, and you'll build this lovely little community of all the people who have similar, um, like, interests as you. And yeah, yeah, it makes me sad when people on YouTube say, "Oh no, look, I'm really struggling," because you know that they once enjoyed creating the content that they'd created, but now they're like the concept of all these numbers inside their heads, and like they're not getting that dopamine kick of going, "Oh my gosh, I've got 1 million views." It, it's just slowly ruining their channel.
Do you guys get that with your social medias as well? Like, or this work hasn't, when you post your work out on social media, or this work isn't getting a lot of, likes or comments or shares or whatever it is, or views.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way with Instagram. um, because like I post my pictures, um, which kind of go into my practice, but it's also kind of mostly a hobby, to be honest. The stuff that I post on there. I feel like but the Instagram algorithm always changes anyway. Um, from what I hear from other creators on there, and it's just annoying. I feel like because not that I work extremely hard on the photographs that I post, but it's like, oh come on. I spent a little while doing this photo shoot. I went to this place and I took these what I think are really nice photos, and then and with the amount of followers that I have, I thought I would get more likes on there. And sometimes I remember posting work that I was really really proud of, and then it was just like no one liked it at all, and I was like, oh, okay.
Mm.
I think I've had that struggle as well, especially with because over lockdown, obviously, learning more about the YouTube industry, even like because obviously with things like streaming platforms or even if you want to say want to not necessarily follow the crowd, you want to go out and make your own YouTube videos and just have fun. It's very hard because like the way YouTube used to be, right? It used to be all about, oh, we'll support creators who are willing to do different things, but now it's become a case of it's all about money because you have to look good for businesses. They want to see as if, oh, can we trust this person to make content? So
Yeah,
now with
monetizable.
yeah, it's now becomes a case. It can now become a case like you don't feel that drive anymore to be like, oh, I want to make things purely because I like them. It's become a case of, oh, I want to make things just that advertisers will like because that will give me a stable income. And it's a sad thing because you could like spend hours if like making like let's say a really cool video or like a short film or even like just maybe looking at something or playing video games and being like, oh, this is really cool and here's what I think of it. And then it could be just gone in an instant when someone decides, hey, you know, this stuff isn't friendly. It's not suitable for like certain companies to sponsor you, so we're just gonna remove you. You know, I've had so many issues chatting with people who've been like, I want to be a part of YouTube, but then it's a very dangerous job. That's the best way I can describe it. You could just lose everything within an instant.
Yeah, it's quite sad, but you know, I think it's one of them. Like, if YouTube doesn't do it for you, and if you are passionate about creating works that you want people to see, you will also find a way. It won't be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy at all. Uh, but I think, if people could make films back in the day with, like actual film on like little Super 8 cameras or whatever it was, and still make it, I think you have the resources to do it. It'll just be a lot harder to do it, um, minus YouTube.
What about you, Manish? How do you find it stressful for advertising?
I guess I've not done it for real, but at uni, it was the idea of censorship. I think that's what we're talking about. Is massive in advertising. There are certain rules that you have to follow. You can't show a certain thing in an advert. Just recently, a couple of ads got banned because they didn't have enough equality. Which, I think some of these are great ideas, but also like you're sometimes as a creative, you don't think about all of these things. You just want to make the best work that you think is best for yourself and just gonna put it out there, um, which I know isn't the job of an advertiser, but still, there is that aspect to you because at the end of the day, you are creative and you are artistic. Um, but yeah, the censorship idea, I think in advertising, because you know what you're going in for, you're kind of prepared for it. So it's not massively an issue, but I can see how it can be for people trying to do different types of ads or trying to say a different type of thing, which isn't necessarily seen as like politically correct or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a shame because I mean, if you're like making an advert at university or like for just like a brief or something, but you don't have any friends who would fit into the equality checklist, it's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, it makes me sad about because you have to have. It's not about like. I feel like now it has become so commercialized to be politically correct that now you have to actually tick a box to say, yes, I have an ethnic minority in this advert. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate the fact that now we have that, but I feel like it should have just come naturally anyway.
Yeah, I think the idea of putting a rule on it is a bit weird for me. I'm not saying it, including these things is wrong. It's totally what it should be. We should be representing what society is. If in your society there's 50% men and 50% women, that should reflect in how you present in the world through your art. But I don't know. To me, I think the idea of there being a rule about that, um, just the idea of it, I don't know. I can't articulate it, but it just kind of feels weird to me.
Yeah, like you're forced to put these people in.
Yeah, but I also see why you need them because you know
Yeah, it's a hard scale to balance because you do actually need this representation because there will be an ethnic minority looking at the TV screen at that advert or that billboard or whatever and going, "That's me."
yeah.
And
Yeah.
we need that in society because otherwise no one's going to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like you said, at some point, people want to be like, "Oh, that's me," or "I see myself in, this one character or this what someone's doing." And even though it might at times, you want to be where you want to have the natural feeling of, "Oh, you're there and you want to." And I feel like, we're it's not just the same people you see on screen over and over again, but at the same time, you you don't want to be I don't want to be just be used to fill like a list, when people go, "Oh yeah, he's this and this," therefore you let in. I feel like that's it. I personally, like, if I were to find out that the only reason someone hired me was because they wanted to fill a checklist, I don't know how I
Yeah.
would feel about that.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the sad reality of it is that like the actors that you have to use, they will be just tick boxes,
Yeah.
and it kind of becomes depersonalized at that point.
Which is totally denying, the idea that we've lived by, like judged by the content of your character, not by the outward appearance. And we've kind of done an opposite very sneakily, trying to say we're being equal while only judging the appearance rather than the content.
I was just gonna say as well, Manish, how do you feel? How do you think this might pan out, especially for creative arts and, you know, how I guess even the arts industry? How do you think this might affect people coming in or students who have to learn about these sort of things?
Um, that's a tough question because I've no idea. um, no, honestly, like I think the creative industry is one of those industries that you can't pinpoint it because it's so wide and so different, and that's the beauty of it, that it's not pinpointable. If you're a creative and you have a passion for creating something that's also politically incorrect, you will go out and make that thing, and you will just let the people judge of how they feel and how they feel about it, if they want to buy into that or not. So I really can't say for creatives coming into this who are going to be learning all about this stuff. I say learn it, and then if you don't agree with the rules, break them. You know the rules are set there by people. You can be the one to kind of change them if you don't agree with them.
Anarchy.
Maybe not like that.
Maybe not that extreme, but yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Why not create some anarchy? if you disagree with the rules so much that you're willing to go out there and make something that speaks against all of that, or not even trying to speak against it, but just trying to make work that you feel is really important that should be out there, make it. Like make people understand what your position is through your art, and
Do it.
just do it.
Just do it.
We have around 5 6 minutes left. So I guess you talked a lot about moving, like going into uni, like the stress that could be involved, the ideas of artistic freedom, and especially for people who are showing up to uni. Um, when you're looking, I guess looking back on what your experience is like in uni, what do you think is like your biggest thing that you've learned while being at LAU?
I don't know if I can put. I don't know if this is the biggest thing, but it's also an important thing I learned is that your whatever degree you're doing, whatever your passion is, whatever it is, it's not defined by what uni you went to, what grade you're going to get by the end of it, how much hours you've put in. That doesn't define, you know, how you're going to come out of uni. I can look back at my work and say, I wish I'd put more hours into that, or I wish I put less hours into that. Or I can say, I wish I'd spoken to this person more because I really miss that friendship. You know, you're always going to have things like that in life. But the biggest takeaway from uni was that you've kind of got to live in the moment and just got to do, you've just got to stay focused at what you want to make and make that thing and make it really good. But also, don't look back and regret about the things that you could have done, because that what you could have done, you've thought about in hindsight. Just focus on what you can be doing and do it. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Um, Especially for guys listening as well. We definitely plan on releasing more of these things. Most likely it will be once every 2 weeks, and definitely cycling through with new guests. But yeah, thanks for coming, Manish. Definitely was good catching you again.
Yeah, it was fun.
We do miss you, buddy.
Oh, miss you too.
No easier way to say about this, yeah.
Don't make my heart heavy.
Not like this, no. But yeah, thank you guys for all for listening, and we'll catch you guys later.
Yeah, this was great.
See
Thank
ya.
you, King. Thank you, Celeste.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.